There is a moment, if you think about it, when the world we know stops resembling itself. You look at your hand. You see skin, lines, tiny imperfections. But if you could shrink yourself billions of times, at every step something would change radically. First you'd lose the folds of the skin, then the cells would look like bustling cities, the nuclei like power plants, the molecules like dancing structures. Going further down, atoms stop being little dots and become probabilities, clouds of presence that never stand still. At some point, you realize that solidity was only an illusion of scale. Modern physics has allowed us to go quite far on this journey toward the small. We have discovered that what we call matter is mostly empty space. If you took an atom and magnified it to the size of a stadium, the nucleus would be like a grain of sand at the center of the field, and the electrons like gnats darting through the stands. Yet, from that apparent emptiness emerge all the weight, consistency, and forms of the world. The more we analyze, the more we realize that object is just a convenient word to indicate a set of constantly shifting relationships. For centuries we believed in indivisibles, first molecules, then atoms, then protons and neutrons, then quarks. Each time we thought, here it is, the fundamental building block, we can't go beyond this. And each time, a new theory, a new experiment, a new particle accelerator pushed the frontier further, showing that what seemed final was only another step on a staircase whose end we cannot see. Once we reached elementary particles, we found ourselves before another threshold, the Planck scale. Here we're not talking about one more particle to discover, but something far more radical, a theoretical limit below which our very notions of space, time, and measurement cease to make sense. The Planck length is a frighteningly small number, so tiny it's almost impossible to imagine. There are no instruments capable of seeing at that scale, and there may never be. It seems less a physical wall than a conceptual one. And it's right here that the great question arises. Is that limit a real boundary of the universe, or just a boundary of our equations? Is nature saying, beyond this point, there is nothing, or are we simply lacking the right language to describe what lies deeper? To try to answer, some physicists have imagined completely new scenarios. One of the most famous is string theory. According to this view, particles are not point-like entities without extension, but tiny vibrating strings that oscillate in extra dimensions, curled up and invisible to our senses. Like the strings of a musical instrument, they change note according to their vibration, and each note corresponds to a different particle. Electrons, quarks, photons, all emerging from a single fundamental entity that vibrates. At the opposite extreme, loop quantum gravity imagines that it is not particles that are fundamental, but space itself. Space-time would not be continuous but composed of quanta, tiny grains woven together like a network. In this view, the vacuum is never truly empty. It is a microscopic fabric that can only appear smooth when observed from afar. Like a carpet, uniform from a meter away, but up close a complex weave of threads. The problem is that, for now, none of these theories has experimental proof. They are elegant maps, but we don't know whether they describe a real territory or just our mathematical imagination. Yet the very fact that physics seeks to go beyond the Planck scale tells us something important. The feeling that the bottom has not yet been reached remains very strong. Each time we believe we've found the final brick, history reminds us we were only looking at an intermediate step. But what if that's exactly the point? What if the universe has no bottom, but is infinite toward the small as it is toward the vast? A cosmos made of structures within structures, levels within levels, never reaching a final floor on which everything rests. In such a universe, the very idea of an ultimate particle would lose its meaning. The deeper you go, the more you find new forms, new dynamics, new levels of organization. Yet in this scenario, another, even more radical question emerges. What are we really observing when we look at the physical world? Are we seeing the true face of reality, or only a representation, a kind of interface? Here enters a perspective born not only from physics but from the encounter with the philosophy of mind. Some thinkers, among them Federico Faggin, have proposed an almost total reversal of the paradigm. Faggin, after having played a decisive role in the creation of the microprocessor, turned his attention to the hardest question of all. What is consciousness? And from that question came another. Does matter truly produce consciousness, or could it be the other way around? According to Faggin, consciousness is not a side effect of neurons and chemical reactions. It is not a byproduct of matter but the principle from which matter itself emerges. In this vision, what we call the physical universe would be a kind of shared interface, a representation that makes possible experience, communication, and the evolution of conscious beings. As if the reality we touch were the screen of something much deeper. At this point, the initial question takes on a new nuance. It's no longer just about asking whether the small is infinite, but whether a below truly exists made of ever smaller pieces, or whether, at some level, the very notion of physical size dissolves into something different, directly linked to consciousness and information. This is where our journey into the infinitely small turns into a journey toward the ultimate nature of experience. And the next step seems inevitable. If consciousness truly is the foundation of the universe, then what lies beneath the quantum world might not resemble what we call matter at all. Imagine reality as a vast graphical interface. We see colors, shapes, objects, but beneath the screen there are only signals, codes, processes. According to Faggin's interpretation, something similar happens with the universe. What we perceive as space, particles, fields, and forces would be the way a more fundamental structure, one tied to consciousness, represents itself to itself. If that's so, going below the quantum level might mean leaving the language of traditional physics and entering a domain made of information and experience. Instead of particles, we might have to speak of units of meaning. Instead of grains of space, of relations of information. It's as if, beneath strings and beneath loops, there were an even subtler fabric, not made of matter or energy in the usual sense, but of possibilities of experience. Not something that occupies space, but something that defines how space is perceived, constructed, and organized. The most advanced physical theories, such as string theory or loop quantum gravity, could then be seen as partial descriptions of how this deeper representation appears when we observe it through our current mathematical apparatus. They are photographs, not of the ultimate foundation, but of a certain zoom level of the interface. Elegant, extraordinarily powerful, yet still within the game of representation. There is another fascinating element: experimental difficulty. Whatever lies below the Planck scale is, for now, completely beyond our reach. We cannot build particle accelerators powerful enough to reach those energies, nor instruments sensitive enough to measure lengths so small. It is as though we were standing on a cliff looking at the ocean. We see the surface, we sense that beneath it there is a world, but we cannot yet dive deep. This technological limit paradoxically opens a space for conceptual freedom. For now, no experiment forces us to choose a single image. We can explore different hypotheses: a granular space, a space continuous to infinity, a reality made of strings, or one that beneath everything is not spatial at all, but conscious. It doesn't mean that anything goes, but rather that our map is still being drawn, and the borders are penciled in. If the depth of reality were truly infinite, then every ultimate particle would be only temporary. We might discover new structures beneath quarks, and then others still, and so on, like an endless Matryoshka doll. But at some point, it might no longer make sense to speak of pieces. Instead of asking, what's underneath, we might ask, what kind of process generates all these levels? In this shift of perspective, consciousness no longer appears as a mysterious exception that emerged late in the universe, but as the very condition for a universe to appear at all. From this viewpoint, what we call the laws of physics become the regularities by which consciousness organizes information. The fact that the fundamental constants have exactly those values, that particles interact in certain ways, that spacetime follows specific geometries, these could be compared to the rules of a language. They are not arbitrary, yet not absolute either. They are the particular way a certain kind of shared experience expresses itself. This does not mean abandoning science, quite the opposite. It means asking it to take one step further, not only to describe what happens, but to wonder why something like a mathematical description is even possible. Why does the universe appear so profoundly rational, structured, readable? Why can equations written on a blackboard predict with precision the behavior of phenomena we've never observed before? In a vision where consciousness is fundamental, this readability of the world is not a random miracle but a natural consequence. Reality is intelligible because it is the expression of something that understands. Returning, then, to our initial question, what could exist beneath the quantum world? We can imagine several possibilities, knowing they remain, for now, speculative. There could be a layer of pure information, where it no longer makes sense to speak of distance or duration, but only of logical relations and correlations. There could be a network of connections finer than any spatial grid, where each node does not represent a particle, but a point of view, a center of potential experience. Or, in an even more radical variant, there might be no layer beneath at all, but only different ways in which consciousness organizes reality. In other words, not a hidden physical background, but a depth of perspectives. The deeper we go, the fewer things we find, and the more we encounter ways of seeing, structures of meaning, patterns of information. The scale would not only be spatial, but experiential. For now, science has no tools to measure intention, creativity, or meaning as fundamental quantities of the universe. These aspects are treated as emergent phenomena of biology or psychology, not as primitive ingredients of reality. But if the vision of Fagan, and of other similar thinkers, contained even a fragment of truth, then what lies beneath the quantum world could be precisely this. A domain where what matters is not where something is, but what kind of experience it makes possible. It is striking how, every time physics believed it had reached the end, the universe responded with a new level. When atoms were thought indivisible, subatomic particles appeared. When classical mechanics seemed final, quantum mechanics arrived. Every end of the road turned out to be a curve hiding another valley. There is no reason to believe this time will be different. Perhaps, by pushing our experiments further, we will indeed find new structures beneath the quantum realm. New entities, new symmetries, new bricks of a deeper physics. Or perhaps we will discover that beyond a certain point, speaking of physical magnitude ceases to make sense, and we will be forced to introduce completely new concepts, where consciousness is no longer an embarrassing intruder, but a central actor. After all, the question, how far down can we go, hides another. Who is looking? Because every theory, no matter how sophisticated, is always a bridge between the world and a mind trying to understand it. Perhaps the deepest point of reality will not be a number, a formula, or a particle, but the realization that observer and observed have never truly been separate. Imagine returning to that grain of dust with which we began. You hold it between your fingers, knowing that within it may lie levels of complexity and depth our species has not yet even dreamed of. At the same time, you realize that the very capacity to ask this question, to wonder what lies beneath, beyond, and why anything exists at all, is already a powerful clue to the role of consciousness in the universe. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not that the world is infinite toward the small, but that within this very world has appeared a creature capable of asking about infinity. Perhaps, at the end of all journeys into the microcosm, we will discover that what we were seeking beneath the quantum realm was always here, in the very fact of being aware of existing, and of being able to look at the universe and ask it, once again, how deep are you, really? If you've made it this far, it means you love curiosity as much as we do. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support what we do. Your presence truly makes a difference. Until the next exploration.